Hi everyone. So just wait for 1 minute more. I'm again reminding in the group. If anyone want to join, they can join, or else we will start. Hey Pratiksha, you are there?
Yeah,
Pratiksha?
hi Usha.
Yeah, hi. So how are you, Pratiksha?
I'm good. Currently bit occupied with my deliverables too.
Yes, I feel like that because I've seen your maximum participation, but nowadays you are not able to attend the class, so that's why I thought of like might be occupied.
Because of the my deliverables. At the
Okay.
same time, I have other calls too. That's the
Mhm.
reason. But
Okay, so
yeah, I'll go through all the recordings tomorrow. It's weekend, so I'll go through. I'll revise all those whatever we have covered. I'll go through.
yes, yes, better it is better not to keep the backlogs. Okay, I mean it happens. Okay, it happens like sometimes we think that okay, this weekend occupied with something might be like next weekend
Mm-hmm.
like that think of, but that generally never happens. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
whenever means just think that like if you are in a session, right? So try to close the backlogs, whatever you have, just try to
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
it, and that way you can keep yourself updated. And whenever
yeah,
you are getting time, you can attend the live session as well.
yeah.
So, okay, so we have got one more participant. I just request you guys to like have patience. We will just wait for 1 minute more, okay? Because I just want today class is bit important since I'm going to teach like how the database connectivity can be done. Yesterday, I have seen like regular people means Prashant and few others, Srikant, Uday, so they used to attend the session. Just thinking that if they can attend. Okay, 8:03 already happened. So let me start the session. Okay. Uh, so if let me share the screen and I'll just do a, recap for 1 2 minute. Yesterday, what we did yesterday, the DAO service class, what we were having before, right? Where actually we have we are using a list as our database, right? If you remember, we were using this list as database, but from today onwards, formally we are going to switch to the database. Okay. So in today class, I am going to use a simple database, lightweight database, which is provided by the Spring Boot framework itself. Okay, means it's a memory database, but the behavior is just like your the way any other RDBMS, MySQL or PostgreSQL, how it works, right? Since this database is also going to behave in that way only. It is also a RDBMS, but the only thing is that this database is not getting created inside a disk, inside your storage disk, okay, hard disk. It is just getting created inside the RAM, so that I will just give you a feeling of like how we can connect the database from the service, okay. And then one day what we will do, this memory database we will just simply switch to the MySQL database, so that you can realize that how easy it is for us, like when we are migrating database, means from MySQL database to PostgreSQL database, or from some PostgreSQL to some cloud based database also, if we are switching, how easy it is. Means Spring Boot has made our life very easy, okay. Means the database connectivity, all these things, today only you will realize that how easy it is for us, like without writing a single query, how we are doing all the database operation. Okay, we don't need even to learn the database. Definitely, like we should have some minimum knowledge on database. But Spring Boot has made the developer life so easy that you don't need to even write a single query. Okay, it has made our life that easy. So, okay. So today the database what I was talking about, we are going to use the S2 console database. How you are going to get the S2 console database? Yesterday I have told you that you just need to add this dependency in your form.xml. Okay. So you know that form.xml is the it is your build tool. Okay, it is your build tool which import all the jar for us from the Maven repository. Okay, Maven repository, what it is, you know that Maven is a repository where all the dependency means all the jar files are getting stored, right? And whatever jar file we need to take it from the Maven. So we don't need to download it in manually. We just need to write the dependency, and this form.xml does it for us. It will import that jar file. Okay. So now the database what we are going to use, this is S2 console database we are going to use. Okay. Now, how we are going to connect the database from our service, from the Spring Boot project, from the service, how we are going to connect? This is the Spring Boot starter data JPA. This is the dependency which we should have in our form.xml. Okay. Now, today I am having this database, S2 console database. Tomorrow I may have MySQL database or PostgreSQL database. How that migration will occur, that we will discuss in the next session. But today, what is our objective? Our objective is to connect to this S2 console database using this dependency. Okay, we will create all our data in S2 console database, and this JPA Spring Data JPA is going to help us. How that is going to happen, that we will see. Okay, so what I have done, this is
Ma'am,
the first. Yes.
no, actually, I
Someone.
have a doubt from previous class.
Yes. I'm just recapping. Means I'm just giving the steps one by one. In form.xml, what you are supposed to do, this dependency you have to import. Okay. What is this dependency? Spring Boot starter data JPA. What is this dependency? What does it mean? This dependency, this jar file is going to help you. See, Spring Boot starter data JPA, the moment you are putting in form.xml, right? Internally, it has all this jar. It will just it will pull all these jar file, JDBC, Spring Boot, JDBC. In Java, what you are doing? You are using JDBC jar file, right? To connect to database. So we don't need to take care of all those things. Just we need to do what? We just need to mention that I need Spring Boot starter data JPA to my form.xml. And Spring this the moment I put this dependency, automatically all the jar file, whatever required. Okay, this is just like a framework. Okay, it's a module, Spring Boot module. So it will import all the required jar file in our project. We don't need to bother on that. You just, as a developer, you need to bother what? You need to bother this one, this dependency to put in your form.xml. Okay. And if any means interviewer asks you that how you connect your service, your REST service to the database, then you should tell that I was using this Spring Boot starter data JPA was the dependency which I was using in my form.xml, and using this I was able to connect to database. This is your answer. Okay. And then after to that, and this S2 console, this is your Spring Boot S2 console, this database I am going to use. Okay. If I am using MySQL database, then this is not, I need not to put this in my form.xml. Since today I am using S2 console, so this one I have put. Okay. This is the step one. Any doubt here, Uday, in form.xml dependency related doubt?
No, ma'am.
Are you clear? Okay. Next
No,
one,
ma'am.
we will go to what? We will go to our application property. Okay. In the application dot property is what? If we want something to mention to Spring Engine that I need this property or that property, whatever you want to mention to Spring, you need to put certain property. Okay, suppose let me first do one thing. Okay, the moment here in application dot property, these are the three property you need to put. Okay, what is the significance of each of the property? I will just inform you. Okay, are you all able to see my application dot property file in my screen? Yes, right? One yes is also going to suffice. Anyone? You are able to see this, right? The font is the font like very small for you guys?
No, ma'am, it will clearly be.
Oh, ma'am,
Okay.
it's visible.
Okay. So first one, this one, spring dot s2 dot console dot enabled. I mentioned this property as true. Already S2 console database, I have that dependency I have imported in my form.xml, right? Now I need to tell to my Spring Engine, first of all, application.property file is a file which is here in the resource folder. Okay, in the resources folder, you need to keep this application.property file. This file, what is the significance of this file? The significance of this file is that, like, if we want Spring Engine to configure something as per our requirement, then this is the file where we have to put the key and value. So that your Spring Engine can on your Spring Engine means your container, Spring container, okay, which inject all the object for us. It can understand that, okay, this property I have to enable, and spring dot s2 dot console dot enabled equal to true. If I will mention this as true, then I can access the console. S2 is a database, right? S2 is the database. I want the console of the database so that I can interact with the database through the console. Okay, so that's why I have mentioned this property as true. Okay, so Spring, the moment I have put this S2 console here, Spring will automatically create a database for me inside the memory. Okay, today our objective is just to learn how to save our data in our database, how to interact means how to interact with the database. Those things only we want to focus. That's why I don't want to means do all kind of installation and all those things. I just want you people to learn how to interact with the database. That's all. That's why I have asked Spring that I've just put this dependency and I have asked Spring Engine that you please create this S2 console database for me. And in application.property, I have put this property as true so that what I want Spring Engine to make this console enabled so that I can also interact with the database from some console. Means my service is definitely there. My service is for all the consumers, right? Consumer will talk to my service will talk to database. That is the chain. But as a admin, I also want to view the database. So how can I do that? I don't want to interact through service. I want one console, one interface. That's why I have made this property true. Okay. Then after to that, I have made this property spring.datasource.url. I have given this value. That means what? I have told that since S2 console database is there, okay, I have told Spring that you please create this URL for me. JDBC colon S2 colon mem colon test. You create this URL for me to this S2 console database. Means my service, how my service will connect to the database through some URL, right? My service means when you are calling, when the consumer is calling your service, how the consumer is calling. Right now the postman is a consumer. How the postman is talking to my service through some URL. Okay, So similarly, my service also to connect to database, so it needs some URL. So I said Spring that I need the data source. Data source means the database. The inside the database, inside the data source, there will be a database called test. It will be created, and this should be the URL, so that my service will use this link to connect. Okay. Then after to that, I have also put this property spring.jpa.defer.data source.initialization true. This one why I have put, because I just want to create, means some data inside the database, because the moment I start my server, Spring will do what? Spring will make this S2 database created. Okay, Spring will create this S2 database for me. It will enable the console for me, and also it will, from the service, from the Spring Boot service to the database, it will create this data source URL. Everything it will do for me. But I also want to show you the database through the console. That and I want to put some data inside the table. So what I did, I created some SQL file here, data.sql file, where I want to create, means I want to insert some data in the table. Okay, if you remember, we were having a user bin, right? We were having a user bin, and this user bin only, we were putting it in the jackson here in the file. When I was creating the data, I what I was doing, I was just putting a JSON like this, and this JSON was getting converted to the user data, right? User bin. And this user bin, when I am calling a service, when I send this data in the body, this request body, like this, when I send it internally, this is the code, right? This code is getting executed. It can be put or it can be post. So if it is put or post, suppose it is post. Okay, suppose it is post, then what it will do? It will just make the method as post. This is the URL. This is the data it will create. So this JSON data, what it was doing? This JSON data, it was getting converted to user bin, right? So this user bin, and I was just creating the user. In the DAO service, I have written some logic to create the ID, and that ID I was setting in this user and putting it here in the list. Like that I was doing, if you remember. So this is the user bin. If you remember this user bin, yesterday I did what? I just, since I need a table, in my database. Whenever you want your table to be created in the database, you have to identify your domain object. User is a domain object. This user object, I have marked it as entity. Why I have marked it as an entity? Because I want the Spring to create this table with name user details in my S2 console database. Okay. So first of all, what you have to do, you have to create all the table, means what all the user data will go into user detail table, all the employee table will go to employee table, all the department data will go to department table. Like that it happens, right, in real time. So based on your domain object, you have to create the Java class. And if I have created, user is a domain object, that means domain object means what? My business domain. It is a domain object. I got to know that, okay, user has ID. Every user have unique ID. So I will have ID. I will have, every user is having their name, having their birthday, having their city, address. So many attributes are there. So I have just created 3 attributes here. Okay. So this user class I was having before. Yesterday, I wanted this user data to be stored in the user detail table inside my database. So that's why I have marked this user table as entity. So that Spring will get to know, okay, this is my table. User detail is my table name. This user data will go to user detail table. Spring will get to know that automatically. We don't need to create anything. Okay, any table name, anything, nothing we have to create. For this user data, corresponding user detail table will be getting created automatically. Okay. And for every user, since there is an unique ID, I have to mark it as @ID, and I have to mark it as @generated value, so that your Spring engine, your data JPA engine will get to know that, okay, I have to create user detail table where ID, this ID is a column, name is a column, birthday is a column. These all fields are one column in the user detail table, and ID is the unique one. If you are marking the field as @ID, @ID means that is your identifier, primary column of your table. Okay. And if I mark it as generated value, that means who will create the ID? First user should have ID1, second user should have ID2, like that. So that ID creation logic will be automatic. Spring will take care of that. We don't need to do anything. Okay. So what is your first duty? Your first duty is to, first step is like have the required dependency in form.xml. Second one, you identify your table name and your bin. This bin is mapped to this entity. It is this bin. This is not a Java bin, simple bin. Now I can even rename it as entity. Let me refactor this package as entity. I will refactor the package. Okay, I will just refactor the package, not bin. Bin means simple a Java class or a data transfer object. For me, it is just entity now. So I will just tell it as an entity. Inside my entity, all the class will be there, for which the corresponding table should be created in my database. So user is a table. The correspond means it is an entity in my project, but the corresponding table is user details, and it has 3 column: ID, name, birthday, out of which for every entity should have one primary column. You know that in RDBMS, in relational database, every table should have one unique column, and this ID is my unique column. Every user are different from each other with this column. Okay, ID, they have a unique ID. Now, this is the second step. You have to identify the object, and for this object, the map table is user details. So it is your object, since it is Spring Data JPA is your ORM framework, object relational mapping. Object is mapped to the table. That's why this is called ORM. Okay. So the user class, I have marked it as entity, and this is the second step I have to do. Okay. So first step, second step, and in application.property file, I have already told you why I have kept these two properties. Then this third property. Why I need this third property? Because inside this data.xql, I want to insert some data. I mean, the moment Spring Engine will create the S2 database, then after to that it will create the URL, then after to that it will make the console enabled, then after to that I want this data to be insert into user detail table. This few data I want to insert in my table. So what it was doing before? Spring was trying, before the table creation, the Spring was also trying to insert the data. Okay, means there is some time it takes, right, for the table creation and all. But since there was some overlapping, so that time I was getting some error. So what I told to Spring, that you defer. Spring, I'm telling the JPA module of Spring that defer data source initialization. You just means keep some time, take some time, defer it for some time, so that means first it will create everything, then only the insertion is going to happen. Otherwise, what was happening? By the time the data source, everything was getting created, it was trying to insert the data. Okay, so that's why I have just put these 3 properties. These 2 property definitely I need to keep, but since I have a data.sql, so that's why this Spring.jpa, this one I have kept. Okay. But data.sql, why I have kept? Just to show you guys like how this S2 console database is getting created, console is getting enabled, data source URL is getting enabled, how data is I can see it from console. All those things just to show you, I have kept this data.sql. I'll remove it after some time. But now let me just, I think this has, means this has become clear for you all, right? Yes?
Madam,
Yes, yes,
I mean,
go ahead.
in URL link which is used, it is predefined or like
No,
we
no, you
can take
can give
anything.
any name. You can give any name. Just I will show you. Let me start the server. Okay, just be careful and watch it. I will show you. We'll create everything. JPA base configuration. Since Spring Data JPA is there, so Spring is auto configurable. It has auto configured the JPA engine. Okay. Then it has S2 console available at S2 console. Okay. Since I have made it console true, right? So that's why this has come. Then after to that, the database you were asking, right? I will show you. Just see here. S2 console is available at S2 console and database is available at this JDBC colon S2 colon mem dot colon test. If I will not give this, okay, it will create a dynamic URL. Let me show you. That also I'll show you. Let me do one thing. What I will do, this application dot this property I'm commenting. Okay, let me comment it. I've commented this property. Okay, this property is not there in Spring application.property. I'll start. The URL you will see some random URL it will create for us. Since we have said that since in the dependency it is there, Spring will definitely, the auto configuration will create the database and S2 console also it has enabled for us. S2 console is available at this and this is the database URL. See JDBC colon S2 colon mem and then after to this some random uh, number, some random text it is taking for creating the database, which I don't want. I want it to be just test always, so that it will be easy for me to access. Now,
And
the
definitely it is
otherwise,
not mandatory.
no, it is not mandatory. What you can do, I will show you. You can just copy it and you will try to connect it from the S2 console. That you can do. But I want to just try to connect from this. That's why I have to do like this. I'll show you now. What is the difference? So now my database will be created at test. My database is created at this URL. This is the URL. Okay. Now what I will do? It has told me that S2 console. H2 console. It is saying that H2 console available at slash S2 console. So what I will do? My database, how can I access? Since it is a memory database. Okay, since it is a memory database, I'm going to access my database like this. HTTP colon slash slash localhost S2 console, S2 hyphen console. So this is the database. Okay. And this it has taken JDBC colon means this one it will not take since I was using before also so it took it. But generally you need to take means copy this from here and you need to give it whatever name you have given. Test you can give your name as well, some XYZ whatever you have given. Will just whatever you will give here it will make the database URL like that and that database URL you need to put here. Okay. And then just say connect. So what it has done, see, this is the database. You can see JDBC colon S2 colon mem colon test. Under this database, it has created user details table. This is the user detail table. And this user detail table, it has how many row? 2 row is there. See? It has 2 rows. Okay, but I have created the data with future date. Today is 14th or 15th. Today is 15th. Yesterday, it should not create actually. It should have given me error, because since I am just creating it from the back end, I have created it from the back end. If I will create it from the front end, I have the validation. Those who have attended the uh, validation class, or those who have gone through the validation, how to validate the data. Here I have put a validation fast. It will not take, means if from the front end, if you give some today date or some future date also you will give, it will give you error. Okay. So this data, how I have created it from the front end. Just to show you guys. Okay. Now what I will do, I don't want this data.sql to be here. I will just delete. Okay. And in this application.property file also, I don't want this to one of the property I don't want, since I don't want data to enter. So just I'll remove this. I don't want the data to enter from backend. Now I will start, and again I will try to press the database. Okay. Time you don't have any data. You don't have any data. Okay, now we will create the data from the user service. How we will do that? Okay, that is very important. How we can connect our service to database. It is really very, very simple. Very, very simple. You don't need to remember so many things. What you will do, see, we have the controller package. So just you create one more package. I will name the package name as, I just name the package name as repository or DB package, something like that. I will just keep it as repository. Okay. And inside this repository, what I will do, I just create a interface. My interface name is user repository, because this is going to uh, connect with the user table. So suppose I am having 10 table, that means I need to have 10 repository. Okay. You have to do like that. Now I am having user repository. This one, this should extends JPA repository, and this user repository is going to interact with the user table. That's all. You just need to mention like this, that this JPA repository is for user, and for this user the unique column, the unique column is a integer column. The ID is a integer. Okay. Now I'll just import this one from the entity user class from the entity. So I have imported this. That's all. You just need to do this. You don't need to write any query. Okay. Then what you will do, we have the user controller. One by one, the user controller, we have the post. First we will create the data. So what I will do, I don't need a user DAO service anymore. So I'll just remove this user DAO service. Instead of user DAO service, what I need user repository. Okay. I need user repository, and I will just rename this. I will just rename this to user repository refactor user repository. Just refactor it as user repository. And You can write it as auto wired. If you will make it auto wired, then what Spring will do? Spring will just auto inject. Okay, Spring will auto inject this one. If you are not, if you don't want this auto wired to be here, you can just put here user repository like this. This is a constructor injection. Either you inject this. Auto wired means what? Auto wired means Spring will automatically create the object for you. It will automatically create the object and it will insert it in your class. Okay, that is that one is auto wired. Okay, and if you are putting here, if you will just mention like this user repository, and then what Spring will do? Just it will automatically create this object and assign it in the constructor. Okay, so that but what I will do, I'll just remove this. I'll just keep my code very clean and I'll just mention this is auto wired. I mean, just you inject it automatically. Auto wired. Okay, I don't need the gate mapping, all these things. I will just make it commented for the time being. All these things, we will slowly switch this DAO service to our repository service. How? That I am going to show you. I want to create the data. This user object, what I am getting from my postman, I just want to put it in my database. So what I will do, save user. That's all. Have I written the save method anywhere in the user repository? You go to this user repository, have I written anything? Nothing. I have not done anything. But automatically all this in the JPA repository, the same method is there. If you go to the means your user repository is extending this JPA repository, and here you have the same method. Okay, here you have the same method. Internally, this save is calling the save and class only. Okay, internally save is there. Either I think in it is there in list CROD repository or in list paging, somewhere it is there. Save must be here. Save all is there. Okay. Then maybe in the other, it is also extending few repository, right? So list paging, query by example, somewhere it must be there. Save. Otherwise, how this is our super interface. JPA CRUD repository here we have the save. See, the save is here. So what we are doing? What we are doing in our repository, user repository, we are just extending JPA repository, and save method is inside this JPA repository. JPA repository is also extending few interface. So automatically all those method has come to user repository. Spring will write everything for us. The save method we don't need to implement. See, Spring will do it for us. So in the user controller, what we did not write a single thing. What we are saying, we just whatever we have got as user from the front end, as request body from the consumer, we are just saving it. That's all we do. Nothing else. Okay. And what I want to do, I want to also show you the query. Means Spring will means when you are inserting any data in the table, what you do? You write the SQL query, right? Insert into table values, all those things. The query also will be written by Spring. I want to show you the query actually. So what is that property? Let me just check here. Spring data JPA show query. So SQL. Application dot property. This one I have spring.jpa dot show hyphen SQL, just to show you guys. Actually, generally we don't keep it in this property file. lot of log and all those things will come up. So we don't put this one. But just to show you now, like how all the query will get automatically executed for us without writing even a single code. How our life has become simple, I just wanted to show you. Okay, now what I will do, we are done. Okay, I will start the server, and now we will try to insert some data. See here, if you see the table, user detail table, we don't have any data here, right? Nothing is getting, nothing, no data. Now your server started. What I will do, close everything, start for you, press. I will just create a post. What API I am having currently? I am having no API. Everything I have considered. I am having a single API, which is slash users, post mapping, post, the request method is post, the path is slash users. I have to access it as slash users. Service is running in localhost 8080 slash user, and the method type is post. But this is also in need of request body. So what is the request body? We know that exactly it is similar with our user object. So what I will do, I'll just copy paste some body. Body to show. Anyway, that's fine. Nowhere I'm seeing it. So what I will do here, I'll just make a body which is like JSON. It has to be JSON. Since Spring is by default, it is accepting the data in JSON format. Spring internally using the Jackson framework for data serialization. I have already told you what is serialization, deserialization. So what I will do, I'll give ID. I don't want need to give. ID will be created by here. It will be created automatically since we have already marked it as entity. User is an entity and ID should be a generated value. So I don't need to give ID. I will give just the name. Let me insert my name only and the you can put birthday, but since yesterday I was telling you that you can put JSON property, you can customize also. Like when I will not give this one, then I have to save the data. The key has to be birthday only. But since I have put this annotation, JSON property annotation, the key should be like this, birth date. I don't want my consumer to use the same key as of my Java class. So I can mark it as like this. Okay, so that my consumer has the liberty like this. I can put it as birth date. The birth date, what I'm going to put, suppose 2019 6 10 10 some data. Okay, and I just say send. So data got inserted, ID is 1, name is Usha, this date also. I mean, this is only the return type, right? This is only the return type of my controller. Once my API, my service is returning this only. This method is returning the same object. Okay, user, the same entity it is returning. So I've got that. Okay, let me see if it is created in my table or not. Let me run this query, select start from user details. Okay, next. Done. Yes, the data is inserted, right? So no query I have written, nothing I have done. But since Spring is doing this for us, see what it is doing? It is creating some script. Since I have marked this entity, user entity, I have marked user class. I have marked it as an entity. The table name is user detail. It created a table here. User detail table it created. Okay, so you can see the create table query also here. Right? Create. See here, drop table. First it is doing what? Drop table if exists user details. Okay, then it is doing create table user detail. It is this one it is creating. In the user table, everything it is seeing, like okay, what all thing it has, birth date or everything is creating. These are the column. Create table user detail, birthday, ID, name, everything. Okay, and primary column, since I have mentioned ID in this ID as your ID at the rate ID, so it is saying that primary column is ID column like this. Okay, so all the query it is doing for us. Spring is doing. We don't have written anything. This is the beauty of your Spring framework, Spring Data JPA framework. Everything is doing for us. Insert the data. Okay, just we created one interface which is extending your user JPA repository. So what all thing you need to do? You have to first put the required dependency in your form.xml. Then according to your requirement, your requirement. Since I am using S2 console here, that's why I put this. But generally, we don't need this. Generally, we will use some database which is going to be created in our hard disk, permanent database we need. No, we don't need a temporary database. So this is not needed even. So just this one we need. This one only. So Spring will automatically create a URL for us. Then this is one. Then we have to do what? We have to identify what all table we need to have in our database. According to that, for each and every table, we have to create a entity like this. Okay, we have to create an entity like this. And the Java class, you have to mention it as entity at the rate entity. If you will, this name I have given actually like this, user underscore detail. You can, if you will not give this name, okay, in S2 console, it will throw me error because user is a keyword there. Okay, that's why I have put it as user detail. But if I would have used MySQL database, I need not to even give this name user detail. Okay, I'll just mark it as an entity. It will create a user table therefore. But if I don't want my Java class and my table name to be similar, then I have to put it as the name like this. Okay. So user, what you are supposed to do, you have to identify your table. Based on your table, you have to create your entity, mark that class as an entity. Okay. And second thing is that whatever column name you are supposed to have in your table, same column name you should have as instance variable for your entity. Okay, whatever column you want to mark it as primary key, just mark that instance variable as at the rate ID and tell to Spring that I need this as to be generated automatically. Okay, the strategy over here is generated value. That's all. Okay, then Spring will automatically take care of everything. Okay, and then since you have after the entity creation, for this entity you have to create a corresponding repository. Okay, and the best one thing you should do, you should also mention it as repository. Why? Because you just mention it as repository. See, the way we have mentioned the controller as at the rate controller, this one also you should mention it as repository. Okay, you should mention it as repository. If you will not mention it as repository, then a lot of object will be created. Okay, when Spring take care of everything like means with a life cycle. Okay, the moment you mention it as controller, it will just create one controller object. That's all. Means Spring will get to know that this is a special. This controller is a this user controller is a special class which has all the API. Okay, which is exposed to the outside, and it will be treated as a Spring Bean. Okay, so Spring Bean will Spring will give a special treatment to it in terms of its life cycle. Means Spring will maintain its life cycle. It will not be garbage collected. Okay, it will just be singleton. Singleton in the sense, it will just create a single instance. All those means there are a lot of base some special treatment it will give. So you have to mention it as a REST controller. REST, and apart from that, Spring will get to know that my API is here. And here repository, you have to mark it as @repository, so that Spring will get to know that this is my special bin. This is my Spring bin. Okay, so everything Spring will create it beforehand. Okay, here I call the service and then service has injected so many things it has done, right? But in the moment I will mention it as repository, before the request only it will create the object and it will keep it ready for you. Okay, so the performance will increase. So all the repository class try to mention it as you have to mention it as @repository. Then rest of the thing will be managed automatically by Spring. Okay, so one API we have done to insert the data. Let us insert some more data also. I will add some more data here, Uday, and just putting some test data here. At least some two data I will insert. Okay, two data I have inserted. Now I will do the get API. So get API is also very simple. What we are going to do? Let me just uncomment it. User repository will do what? Here, let's see which method we should call. Find all, so that it will fetch all the table. So we have not written anything. This find all method already it is there in the JPA repository. Okay, but our user repository, we have told that since in the user repository you have means it is extending JPA repository, and you have mentioned this should communicate with which table? User table, and the primary column is integer. So automatically the query will be written for user table only, and primary column will be treated as integer, means the ID table will be as the primary table. Okay, so this is the format you have to follow. So what I did, I just did find all in my controller. Here, dot find all and get mapping. Now I'll start and let's try to access this API /user. So what I will do, I'll just add one more API call from Postman. Okay, and this is the URL I supposed to use. Same path /user only, and nothing I have to put here, no body, nothing. Just the moment my server started, I'll hit the gate. And okay, what's wrong? 200 I'm getting. Stop. Let us start with debug mode. I put the breakpoint here. So this way you should also debug in, means if your code is not working, you can debug. And okay. So I will go inside and out of the will work. I don't want I just to go out. It all users. Okay, let me just stop here. One more line I will put. This users reported find all. It should give what? Find all is giving me the list of Your generic is user. So here what I will do, the user controller, I should have list of user list. This user list only I am returning. User list. Okay. Now I will give my breakpoint here because I want to see what is there in my user list. I have started it in debug mode. Guys, are you following me or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me hit the API here. Okay. Now let me go to the next line. The user list, what all the size is 0. What is the query it is executing? I do. So SQL I have removed. It from application.property file.
Yeah,
That
hi,
is,
Usha.
yeah, hi. Who is this?
Hi, so this slide, yeah. So as we restart the application, and yeah, we need to add a users first. Then only we are able to fetch it because it's through database. And yeah, as we restart the application, then database will vanish the table.
Yeah, we restarted the table, but the query I should see here, find all got executed, right? I should see the query at least.
Yeah, executed, but there is nothing in the database table. That's why we
Oh, got it. Yeah,
getting.
yeah, yeah. Understood,
Yeah,
understood. Yes, yes. It is in memory database. Yes, yes,
yeah.
correct. Okay, I created one data here. Let's see. Should get inserted. Oh, okay, okay. My table, it is in the debug mode, right? It is in the debug mode. It has been paused. So let me stop and start it in the general mode. First create data and then you see. Actually, that time I have inserted in two data I had inserted, right? So that data.sql I have removed. Yes, then let's insert two more record. Okay, two data I have inserted. Now this gate should give me two record. Yes. Yes, thank you, Satish. Satish, right? Satish, I think you have figured out, right? Yeah. Thanks for pointing that. Okay. So now two record got retrieved. So this is also, this API is also working fine. So definitely you must have realized that it is too easy for us, like if we are using Spring Boot along with the JPA, Spring Boot data JPA. It is easy to communicate. Okay. So what I will do, the rest of the thing I will give you as like this code I will share with you all today, and I will give this as an assignment. Okay. To complete, like how to complete the put mapping. Put mapping is also too easy that we can do since we have 1 minute more. I think that is enough for us. Let me just comment it. Okay. And here, this is the updated user. Just let me rename it as new user or updated data, something like that. Updated user. Okay. What I will do. So put mapping is for what? Put mapping is just to update some data. If I want the name to be updated or birthday to be updated, so what I will do first, we will do what? We will just try to update it. Update user dot save. Just call the dot save and save the new user. That's all. Just save the new user. Okay. And this will give you what? User, saved user. We don't need to clean up the data already. This @ valid is there, so it will do all validation. So we should assume that updated user is a valid user. Okay. So just what we will do, we'll just save it as it is. Okay. And let's see. Stop and start. So put mapping is for updating any user data, right? Started or not? Yes, started. So what we will do, first we will insert some data here. Data we will create for all of them. The date is, but date is same. So what I want some data to update. Okay, so I will just using the get API, I'll fetch and I will take this user data to update. So what I will do, put mapping / user. So this API will be called. Okay, Spring will send the request to this API, and this API need a body. It should be JSON because Spring knows the default format for Spring to receive the data in JSON format, and then Spring will convert that JSON data to your Java object, and this Java object is marked with entity. User is an entity. This entity, updated user entity, we are saving it in the database. So just we will call the save method of your database. That's the simple logic behind it. So Syam, I just want for the ID 2, the birth date to change. Let me make it 2000, and then I'll call a send. So I got it, and now I'll verify to get. And yes, this has been updated. It is so simple with Spring. Okay. So you can also take care of patch mapping, delete mapping, or get mapping. This one you can do. This one also is simple. Get mapping. If you want to retrieve just one user, what you will do? Just you want one user. You will just find by ID. Or find by ID. This is the ID you are sending it from your path. So I will just pass this ID. That's all. Find by ID is taking what? ID. It is taking ID. I will do what? I will do get one by ID. I think that is taking dot get one. It is taking integer. This is also get by ID. This is also taking integer, but this has been striked out. I think it has been obsolete. So anyway, get one by ID. It is not getting used anywhere. Or get reference by ID. Okay, I will just use get one by ID, and then see, stop, start, and here I will use just I want to try to retrieve the first user, but I unfortunately, since it is a permanent temporary database, not the permanent one, Monday onward, we'll just switch to MySQL. So if possible, you guys please install MySQL database or PostgreSQL, any database as per your use. Just install it. Okay, let me just put some data here. So get this one is retrieve all the users. I have two users, Ganesh and Shyam, both got retrieved. Now I just want to retrieve the first user. So in the path, I have to send the path variable. This one, slash users, slash ID. So slash ID is one. If I will call ID, I got this one. I got the user. This user I got. But this is one property which is Hibernate is using. I don't want. Hibernate lazy initializer. Hibernate is means when Hibernate or the JPA, when it retrieved from the database, right? It retrieved from the database. This property also getting added. So since it is a lazy initialization, which I will tell you what it is later, but I don't want for the timing, just for your understanding, I don't want this one. So what I should do? Can anyone answer? Yesterday I have taught this one. If I don't want any of the property, then what I should do? Here I should annotate with JSON ignore properties. Yesterday this one was taught. I don't know how many of you had there in the yesterday class, had attended the yesterday class. Some property if you don't want, just put it like this. I don't want this property in my section, in my user object. I don't want this property. So just put it here. Hibernate, JG is like I don't want this. Okay, stop and start. This one will not come. This is a property which Hibernate is actually means when Hibernate is saving it in the and Hibernate is doing what? It is storing the data in the database. So all serialization in deserialization, some extra property is getting stored. Okay. I have stored data here. Now first user data I want. So first data user is Sam and this Hibernate property, lazy initializer property we have removed. We have ignored. So it's not coming. Okay. So you must have understood how easy it is for us, right? To connect to database and creating tables, storing data, all those things. It is very easy. Means you don't need to have even like lot of SQL knowledge. If you are just aware of like the basic stuff of the database, table, and all those things, then your life is much easy actually with database connectivity for database connectivity and managing all this stuff. Okay. So keep on practicing. I'll just share my code base with you on chat on our group so that you people can have some practice during weekend. Okay, and try to install MySQL as well. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you guys. Thanks for your attendance. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.